Hey guys, so today we're going to be reviewing my POF Renegade Plus. I've got about 1,200 rounds through this rifle. It is direct impingement, and we're just going to get into it. It has the triple port muzzle brake. I've obviously changed that for my suppressors. 14.5-inch handguard. It's a really nice handguard. M-lock at 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. And then standard rail on top, I guess. And then we have a spot here as well at 6 o'clock at the end towards the muzzle. P415 Gen 4 lower. We have the E-squared chamber. You have the heatsink barrel nut on here, which dissipates heat. You have the dictator gas block with 9 positions for adjustment on gas. Just a really good system overall. Comes with a Tomahawk charging handle, so that's obviously we can. But yeah, so it comes with just the rifle, 6.3 pounds. I'm not sure if that's with the mag or not. It comes with a Mission First tactical mag, but I think that's just the gun, 6.3 pounds from the factory. As it's configured here now, the way that I have it, with my optic and everything as you see here without a mag and without the suppressor, it's at 7 pounds, 15 ounces. It's a very lightweight rifle that I've tried to keep lightweight. We have some irreducible minimums here in terms of adding weight back onto the gun. You know, you buy this lighter rifle and it's excellent for being lightweight, but then, you know, you get your optic on there, backup irons, flashlight, it starts to add back on. As it's currently configured, weighs, like I said, 7 pounds, 15 ounces. The stock, I like that. I think it reduces weight. I've never had a need to change it, and it's functioned for me in the field so far. I have not had to do any like mortaring of the thing because the gun functions so well. If I do have to mortar it for some reason, I would do it with the stock all the way collapsed just to make sure. I would do that anyway, even if it was a mag pull stock. 4.5 pound trigger from the factory. It's their flat trigger, comes that way stock, which is awesome. I like the trigger a lot. They're the drop-in cassette type. They come standard as well with like these KNS anti-walk pins, or whoever makes these anti-walk pins. They come on every POF I've bought so far, actually. This one is also fully ambidextrous on the controls. I think that's common with the P415 Gen 4 lowers. So they have this triple port muzzle brake that comes with it. It's very loud. This is also going to be loud. This is for my dead air suppressors, and it has the brake in it as well. So I was told that, you know, this would add as additional baffling feature. I think if I were to experiment with that further, I would go with the flash hider just to reduce the sound for my partners and buddies next to me when we're shooting and stuff like that, because that's pretty loud. So I did the rifle course recently with this without suppressor, so I just had the triple port brake on there, and there was some complaints about the sound out of the muzzle. So it's definitely loud, and I don't think you really, I don't know how necessary it is to attenuate recoil of a 5.56 223, but that's what it's designed for, and I think it does it well. Going further with it, Trijicon MRO, standard mount that comes with the MRO. I just bought it in tandem. Magpul M-Bus Pros. The steel sights, full co-witness on these. My eye line, it works out just fine. So that's what I bought. I bought some of those. A little over 500 bucks here. Got quite a bit in the sights too. I want to say that's over $150 if memory serves. And then I have my Edgar Sherman Designs sling. I really like these. I have probably 5 or 6 of these at least that I run on various rifles. I like the quick adjustment, and I like how simple it is. I got turned onto this by watching videos from Lam. So that's who turned me onto that brand years ago. And then even the Ranger Band concept, that's from him as well. But I do like the system, and it works pretty well to keep snag free, and when you gotta secure the rifle to your body, it's pretty convenient. Multicam is probably a little bit more. Standardly, on the more like singleized colors, like black or coyote tan or whatever, you're gonna have, I think, more like a $45 value from Edgar Sherman, and then you might get to like $50 if you go with a multicam or some kind of pattern, which makes sense. Going further towards the muzzle end, kind of already touched on the brakes for the suppressor. We have a BCM up here. I have it backwards just because I like that angle, and it kind of helps me as well with my lighting. Whether I'm running the Surefires or the Streamlights, which is this Streamlight ProTac HLX. I always like the tail cap, and I like to push the tail cap because one of the things I noticed was whenever I have a pressure pad for myself, I have had inadvertent discharges of that light, mostly in practice and training, so not that big a deal, but with the Surefires and even these Streamlights as well, you get the protected tail cap, so you're not really going to accidentally discharge the light, and is also why it's on the left side of the gun. Yes, you do lose some of the stuff with the ambidextrous factor of that. Trade-off is fine for me. I mean, this works, you know, using it against barricades for me on the left side or something like that. This is another reason why I added this. So it's a nice grip, because when I did the rifle course, you know, there was a lot of different learning experiences in doing that course. I did it at Thunder Ranch last August, a year ago now, this week. But there were some humbling things in terms of, you know, the duration of time to have your rifle at the ready and holding it up there for what seems like a really long time. You know, you definitely start to work muscles that you're not working that much when you're riding a desk like me during 9 to 5 or whatever. That was why I added this back on here. So for the barricade usage, to give me some more like meat on the rifle to press up against when we're doing one-handed manipulations and stuff like that, I had a light on there, value option I would say, O-light on there that I didn't mind. Wasn't quite as good, but it was still on the left side and still the same way I ran it, so I was using that against the barricades and stuff like that for one-arm manipulation. You know, pulling the gun into myself and into my body and getting it naturally into the shoulder pocket really good and firm, that I like this setup, and then I can still activate my light and controls, and I have some good, when I'm moving left to right, more control of the gun after standing there for 3 days doing that kind of stuff. So that was where I kind of learned that. But there's a bunch of other things. I learned it for myself in terms of what works for me. There's not something that says you have to do this, or that's something that is prescribed. It's just more the school teaches you to think, and there's things that you don't think about until you have practical application, because until you're in the scenarios that are created for you, you don't really know what you would do or what you might need. So that's kind of how this developed further. So I got I got this ProTac light on here now, and I have this here, and for barricades and manipulating the gun, and like I said, only having the light discharge when I want the light to discharge. I like this setup in general. One thing I didn't touch on, speaking of going back to this sling, was this comes with the QD cups on either side, standard. So there's a lot of stuff that you get with this rifle, you know, just right out of the box, ready to go, that is that adds a lot of value to it. So I think I purchased this for about $1,800, which I think they're still kind of holding that price range, even though it's kind of crazy 2021. But I believe I bought this rifle in 2018 for about $1,800 for my FFL, and it's just amazing. I may have even bought it before that. I'm not sure. It might be 17, but I want to say it was 18. One of the things I think that's slightly different on them now, which you know, you'll notice, is that with the BCG, you have this coating on the entire BCG along with the bolt itself, that I'm not sure if that's still a standard thing that's coming, because that might have changed with POF. But I really like that because it cleans up really well. Even though it's a DI gun, you can pretty much wipe those with a dry rag, and I can get into some of my history on that coating with that. When you have all that fouling on there, it wipes off really well. I was very impressed with that with the first one I got, which I'll get into here in a second. But that's pretty much it. I don't mind the grip angle. I had no problems with it. The only thing that happened with this was, and this could have been just a factory thing, when I got to my rifle course after the first day, my grip was loose. So we backed it out of there, and it didn't. The hardware ended up not having Loctite on it. So we put some Loctite on it, torqued it down, and it was totally fine. I haven't had a problem with it since day 2 and 3 and all that stuff on the rifle course. Ran really well. So I put 1,200 rounds through this thing without cleaning it. I did lubricate 5 points very, very, very minimally, as recommended. But I got that all squared away, and it ran flawlessly for 1,200 rounds, unless my instructors were inducing malfunctions on purpose, so I had to work through that kind of stuff. But those were deliberate and intentional. That the gun otherwise functioned quite well. And it was really good to do the course, because there's just things that you don't really know you're put in the practical circumstances or hypothetical practical circumstances where you would need to make this work, and keep it working. And that was really awesome to kind of get through all that, because when I would get to an empty mag, a lot of times I would feel the change in the BCG as it's going through the buffer tube. So I knew the gun was empty. And you get to that kind of level after 3 days, or a couple days of doing it so much that it was really nice to get into those repetitions and really start to understand and get in tune with the firearm. So I have a high level of affinity for the rifle and know it pretty well. Still never good enough. I need to work still more on the weak side, left side manipulation and so forth. And loading, unloading could always be smoother, break some old bad habits too. I grew up hunting, so a lot of times I'm closing my offhand eye, even though I have optics that allow me to operate with both eyes open. That is one thing that I noticed, and we'll talk about this when we talk about my next one here. This optic is very, very fast. So I took this on the urban rifle course at Thunder Ranch. I took this out to 250 yards approximately on some smaller targets, on man-sized targets as well, very accurately, very fast. Was very, very happy with that. And an observation about this optic that I had before I even bought one was that I saw a gentleman at 3-gun when I was at a competition, 2016. I was going for several months, and I noticed this gentleman was so much faster than I was, transitioning from short-range targets to long-range targets on 3-gun. I noticed that I was spending a lot more time in the tube because I had a 1.5 to 4 on my AR, and I was spending so much time because I could see so much more detail, or I don't know what it was. I would just spend more time in the tube on the scope, and I was looking at this guy beating my time significantly, and I was like, wow, those optics seem very quick. And red dots are, whatever it is, MRO has a pretty good field of view, so that's, I think, very helpful. EOTechs, I run those as well. Very excellent field of view, and the speed is very fast as well, which is something that's not that important. It's more important to be accurate, yes, but fast is still good while you're being accurate. I have several of these MROs now. I really, really advocate for the optic. It's quite good. Battery life's fine for me and my intents and purposes and uses, and even if it dies, I have my backups, or my watch battery can pop in there if it's really that dire. So it's a good optic, and that's a good gentle segue. So I got this one, like I said, in 17 or 18, I want to say, and then this one. This is my first POF. This is a P15 Puritan. It's chambered in 5.56 as well. It's not quite stock anymore either. I'd like to kind of just run through some of that. So I've had this optic and this scope mount on here since I bought it. Similarly, this is just like this one, it's 16.5-inch barrel. It's got the bayonet lug. It's a little bit more traditional in that regard. D-ring, of course, as well for the Delta ring. It came with a mil-spec charging handle from POF. I went ahead and got their Strike Eagle. Similar setup, even though I have all the Magpul M-Lock stuff going on here. I have the BCM foregrip that I put on there after the fact, some pick rail section up here to put my Pro Tac on here, and same setup kind of with the Edgar Sherman design. Magpul furniture. I ended up getting the SL stuff after the fact. It came with Magpul furniture, but it didn't come with the slimline stuff, so I bought that to kind of get a smaller diameter on there, and then I like this stock better for Magpul, the way I run the slings, and it's just nice and solid for me. Got the Ranger band on there too. Gas piston instead of direct impingement. So we have an adjustable gas block up here with just a few settings in regards to, normal and on and off and so forth like that. So we have that set up here. Obviously, it came with a bird cage originally, like an A2 type bird cage. I spun that off and put a triple port on there originally from POF. I bought aftermarket, and then I spun that off when I got the suppressors just for the option. So this is all dead air stuff on there now. Same trigger. It's kind of like a mil-spec trigger. It did have the anti-walk pins on here as well. Ambidextrous in terms of the safety selector, but bolt release and so forth is just over on the left side of the rifle. Obviously being a piston. And this is what kind of got me into the brand. My Marine Corps buddy turned me on to POF back in, I want to say, I think it was 2015, 2014, something like that. He was telling me about, the reason why you get these really awesome features with the rifles that make them function for longer without cleaning, particularly the gas piston system. Puts all your fouling up this direction in the gas block instead of back into the system by the BCG and so forth, and in your face and whatever. It allowed you to run it longer between cleanings. That was what got me into the brand, essentially, is just really high quality in that regard. Also, being in the industry of manufacturing, I understood that there's things that are done here with the traceability that really, really caught my attention as well. My various components have date stamps on them and numbers to give them 100% traceability, physical traceability, obviously, to where the material came from and when and so forth. So understanding a lot about that was another selling point for me. So I was like, wow, it's a robust system that stays cleaner. They had, at the time, they were advertising this P415 that was full auto that they had given, I think, to the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, and they had over 50,000 rounds through it at the time or something like that, and it was still going. The only thing they did was had to replace an op rod that broke in the piston system. The barrel, everything was still going. So there's a lot that they had going on from an innovation standpoint and value add to rifles that attracted me to the brand. So I ended up getting this purchase, and I was very happy with it. And then it led into other things, and a few years later I got this DI because I had seen reviews of it being over 1,000 rounds without cleaning, which I've done myself now and know that that's 100% accurate. And we were doing bounding at Thunder Ranch on the second day, I believe. We were doing some bounding, and I was laying down a lot of fire so that my partner could move. I went through 3 or 4 mags, and you can feel the heat from the heat sink barrel nut start to get into the handguard and stuff like that after that many rounds so fast right after each other. But the way that it just performs and just keeps on rolling is amazing. I was initially sold on the gas piston system for that reason. I wholeheartedly believe in that as well. I use this gun in 3-gun a lot. I've had no problems with accuracy of this rifle at all. I have some 45-degree offsets here. These are MBUS Pros as well, 45-degree offsets for backups. Good feature for myself. It takes some work to kind of get those zeroed correctly. This gun weighs in, from the factory, I think it was closer to 7 pounds. It's now 8 pounds, 14 ounces, the way I'd have it set up, and that's without a magazine and without the suppressor. If I were to put a fully loaded PMag in here, I think that averages, depending on the ammunition, but I'm just on average, I think it's 1.18 pounds or something like that it adds to the gun. Still trying to keep these light, but inevitably you get closer and closer to 8-9 pounds. And there's other things I could do to probably lighten this up, but this has been a solid platform for me that I've had set up for 6, almost 7 years now that I haven't really had a need to change, so I have not changed it much. I've just kind of gone with this whole setting all of them up the same way so that from one platform to the next it's smooth. But that's kind of just giving you a little bit of history of how I got into POF and what the beginning of it looks like and what it evolves into, even getting, going from the piston driven initially, which I think this was about $1,100 in 2015, to upgrading in 2018 to an $1,800 rifle starting price. That's DI, that still runs quite well. According to the data they have on their E-squared chamber that helps and aids with extraction and so forth, it leads to more positive functionality and less malfunctions and so forth. I've had issues with neither platform, so I get both their direct impingement and piston-driven products alike. That's that one there that kind of gives you a comparison to this one here. And you are saving some weight. We're almost a full pound lighter here. That's why these are also good rifles, is the DI system is always tending to be a little bit more, lending itself to be a little bit lighter. So I just want to kind of give you an introduction to the rifle. There's much more detailed reviews online about this, gas blocks, performance, so forth, but I can tell you that dirt and rain and all that stuff and 1,200 rounds back to back for 3 days, at Thunder Ranch, this rifle performed extremely well, and I would recommend it to anyone that's in the market for an AR-15 or AR platform for the value that you're getting with all the feature sets that come with it standardly. As modular as these systems are, and as much as guys customize things and do this and that, and guys build rifles, I like getting complete system from a really innovative company that manufactures this stuff to really high standards, which I've experienced with them 5 or 6 times over now. So I really advocate for the product just because of my experience with it, what I know they can do, and what they've done for me. That's the POF Renegade Plus. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.